see, let's make sure we've got everybody in. Have we got the pastor on board?
As soon as I broadcast, he should be coming in.
Okay, is everyone ready to go?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, then let's go ahead, Clint. Let's make it happen.
All right.
Good morning and welcome to the Board of County Commission meeting here in Seminole County. It is July 28, 2020, 9:30 a.m. I would ask that everyone please silence all your cell phones and electronic devices other than the ones that you're using to join us virtually. We have to put that caveat in there, knowing today we have all this technology of electronic items. We also want to give you a disclaimer. The Board of County Commissioners meeting for July 28, 2020 will be held virtually utilizing communications, media technology made permissible pursuant to the governor's executive orders. This meeting may be viewed on SGTV, live stream, as well as the Board of County Commissioners webpage link or Seminole County YouTube channel. Residents can provide public comment by registering to speak on the Seminole County website and the Board of County Commissioners webpage. There you will find a link to register for this webinar. We will take public comment on each item as it appears on the agenda. In order to be recognized to speak, if you're using a computer, iPad, or other electronic devices, you will need to use the raise hand feature. If you're calling in on a telephone, you will need to press *9. All right, we are going to go to our invocation with Reverend John Pierce from the Ethnos 360 from Sanford here in our capital of our lovely county. We have the pastor queued up.
Yes, sir.
Just a check. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, Reverend, we can hear you. Thank you very much for being with us today, sir.
Okay, this is quite surreal, but let's go ahead and proceed. I'm sorry I can't see you all, but what's important is God seeing us all, is it not?
Amen.
Okay, let's bow our heads in prayer. Heavenly Father, I have to admit that this is different for me. I am glad, Lord, that you're omniscient and you can see us everywhere. And even though I'm speaking on the phone, you say in your word to call unto me and I will answer you and tell you great and unsearchable things that you do not know. I'm so thankful, Lord, that you're not far away when we call, that you're mobile. We can call you anytime, any place. We won't get any busy signals or drop calls, and we have unlimited minutes. We can talk to you as long as we want, and you're a great listener. So, Lord, in your word it says, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven, and I will forgive their sin and heal their land. And Lord, we are certainly needing you to bring healing, to hear from heaven, to be attentive to our cry. I'm just praying for these people who are gathered, our leaders that you have brought into positions of leadership in our counties. And we pray, Lord, that you give them today the wisdom that they need for this meeting. I pray for unity. I pray for peace, not only for our county, our state, but also for our nation. And Lord, I just pray for protection. I pray for protection from enemies, foreign and domestic, and from seen and unseen. This COVID virus has just really done a number on all of us. And so I pray, Lord, for these that you have brought together today to conduct business, that you would just unite their hearts together, give them wisdom from on high. We thank you so much for each one of them. Help them to know what your mind is for the people of this county. And so we ask all these things with great thanksgiving in our hearts for the goodnesses that you have shown to us, even in spite of all that's going on around us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Amen. And Commissioner Lockhart will lead us in the pledge.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America,
and to the
We just stand
under God, indivisible, liberty,
and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor Pierce, sincerely appreciated on behalf of the county commission and all of our citizens here in our great county. And thank you, Commissioner Lockhart, for leading us in the pledge. Next, we'll go to Mr. Alan Harris, who is going to give us a update from the emergency management position of what's going on with the COVID. And I imagine we're going to maybe talk about some weather events that might be coming up. Mr. Harris, welcome and thanks for being here.
Thank you, Chairman. Good morning. Thank you, Chairman, Commissioners, County Manager, County Attorney. Alan Harris, Chief Administrator for the Office of Emergency Management. I will start off with some more troubling numbers and then end with some better information related to COVID. 2 weeks ago, we met and I stated that there were 35 fatalities related to COVID-19. I am sorry to report that the fatality count has doubled in just 2 weeks, with the number of COVID-19 deaths in Seminole County being 71 today. A majority of these individuals are 55 plus, and some, not all, but most had underlying medical conditions. Quite a few were also in long-term care facilities. Another number that is concerning to us and something that is being, of course, heavily worked on is there are currently 242 residents in long-term care facilities, assisted living facilities, and nursing homes battling COVID-19. This number has grown even though teams from the Florida Department of Health, Agency for Healthcare Administration, the Incident Management team has been consistently in these facilities, reviewing infectious disease control measures, and continue to be in there today. We have teams in 5 facilities today alone. Currently, there are 178 long-term care facility staff that have tested positive for COVID-19. Currently, our positivity rate for COVID-19 testing is at 10.12%. If you remember, a few months ago, we were at low 2%, almost 1%, but we are at 10.12%, which is above the targeted rate. I will say, though, over the last few days, we've had a lower percentage, so that may be a good sign of something for the future. We do remain cautiously optimistic with the numbers, even though I have mentioned a couple of bad numbers as I started, but the current positive case load in Seminole County has stayed relatively consistent over the last 2 weeks. 2 weeks ago, we were at 3,250. Today, we are at 3,299. That's an increase of 49. Of course, obviously, new cases come in, many cases fall off the current list, but the daily numbers have remained relatively consistent around the 3,250 mark. Hospitalizations have decreased. 2 weeks ago, we were at a hospitalization of 215. Today, the count is 149. Actually, we just got a new count that it looks like a couple people have discharged, so it continues to go down just a little bit. So we're right around the 150 mark. We were around the 200 mark 2 weeks ago, so that number is improving as well. Both of these numbers demonstrate that the measures that we have put in place is working. After July 4th, Seminole County should have experienced a spike, just like after Memorial Day. We did not. In fact, we saw leveling off, no spike at all. What was the difference? An executive order requiring social distancing and the use of masks. In our business community, we have seen the outbreaks of businesses where we have not seen outbreaks of COVID in places where social distancing and masks are required. Unfortunately, some businesses, though, that do not have these measures have had to self-close due to increases in outbreaks of employee-to-employee transmission. Inside of our own agency, strict mask use procedures have helped us to see a decrease in employee-to-employee transmission for COVID-19. Our safety practice videos, business videos have been extremely successful. Hundreds of compliments here to the Citizens Information Line from residents who are excited to get out and spend money in our local businesses and to find out how our local businesses are protecting our residents. So those have been just amazing reviews from our residents calling into our Citizens Information Line and thanking us for putting those out. Our Citizens Information Line hit a milestone this week, has taken over 21,000 calls now related to COVID-19 since the beginning of the event. Those people have done incredible work in that facility, helping to calm fears, to provide good information to help people register for testing, and now to give out testing results. We can give testing results directly here from the EOC. We can give testing results out to residents, and we've been doing that very, very quickly, speeding up the process now by 3 or 4 days, getting the tests, and that just happened this week. Our logistics section also hit a milestone this week, delivering now over 1.35 million items of personal protective equipment to nursing homes and assisted living facilities. And we've also delivered over 1,796 food boxes to families in economic challenges with COVID-19 stuck inside of their homes. I do have to shift gears, of course, and I have to talk about Invest 92L. This is a tropical low that's in the mid-Atlantic and could be at our doorstep early next week, late this weekend. Due to this, our timeline has started. It actually started yesterday, and the following actions are taking place today and will take place for the next couple of days, as we are now less than 7 days out from a potential tropical storm hurricane effects here in Seminole County. We have a team right now at our warehouse preparing shelter supplies for the activation of shelters on Sunday. We will be doing just-in-time training with staff on Thursday and Friday for shelter management and shelter support. Sandbag operations will commence tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. at the sports complex, as well as some of municipal sandbag locations as well. We're reaching out to our private medical medical vendors to request additional nursing staff for our special needs shelters, and we're also working with our schools to provide nursing staff for the general population shelters. We've launched our MOU, or Memorandum of Understanding, with our ambulance provider to provide ambulances at every one of our general populations as well as special needs shelters. Today, we're conducting a needs assessment of all our COVID-19 patients to see where they live, if they live in a mobile home, manufactured home, and where they would need to evacuate it. And based on that, we will determine what our isolation shelter will look like, how many rooms we'll need for the isolation of individuals that are COVID-19 that must evacuate because of the hurricane. Today, we will be doing a special needs call down. So for persons that are oxygen dependent or require electricity to run medical devices, we're going to be contacting each and every one of those. There's about 1,500 individuals that are registered with us for special needs. So we'll be contacting them to see if they'll be evacuating, what types of services they will need over the weekend. We will be preparing, one of our schools is a complex medical condition school, so we'll be preparing that for the patients that are in vents, trachs, and other specialized medical conditions that are inside of homes so that they are protected. Seminole Government Television this morning went to 50% COVID and 50% hurricane, except of course for the board meeting today. So they will be providing public information related to hurricanes as well as COVID. Our social media platforms have also changed. Public information individuals, the team at Public Information is pushing out videos on hurricane preparedness through all of our social media platforms, Nextdoor, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and multiple other types of resources. We're also working with our business community to push out that information to them as well. We are providing guidance to assisted living facilities, and we'll be pushing that guidance out this afternoon to assisted living facilities and nursing homes related to emergency generator power safety. Of course, the rule after Hurricane Irma was that all ALFs and nursing homes had to have emergency generator power. Some of those are portable generators, some of those are fixed generators, but we want to make sure that they are gassed up, they're ready to go, they've been tested, and that they put those in a safe location so that we prevent any type of carbon monoxide poisoning and things like that. So that will be the push this afternoon to all the administrators of the assisted living facilities and nursing homes. We'll also be working with each of the departments and agencies that support us here in the EOC on the remote coordination center plan. Of course, our EOC will not house as many people. Normally, we house about 130 individuals inside of the room. When we're fully active, we'll be downsizing that to about 34 individuals. So we will have remote locations where people will be able to support the people that are here inside of the EOC to allow proper social distancing for everyone, and also a measure of preventative care for COVID-19. We want to make sure that people are as protected as possible. So we got a lot going on right now, but that is an update on COVID as well as the tropical event. If there's any questions.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Harris. Any questions for Mr. Harris? Commissioner Lockhart.
Good morning, Alan. As always, thanks and kudos to your entire team. I know it feels kind of hollow when we sit here and say that when you guys are actually on the front lines making it happen, but we really do appreciate you. Question for you, something that we touched on, not at our last meeting, but in between meetings. There's been some interesting social media activity related to the claim that there are people who are going to our pop-up testing sites and waiting in line, not having a test administered, leaving before that happens, and then claiming that they've received a letter in the mail stating that they got a positive result, which of course would be very disturbing because they didn't have the test taken. And the governor actually even addressed that in one of his press conferences recently. And I'm concerned on a couple of fronts. One is, of course, if that's happening, that is unbelievably disturbing and needs to be investigated. My second concern with that is I've yet to see someone actually say that it was they who got in line and then received the letter. It's always someone's friend, someone's cousin, someone's coworker. So I've been encouraging everyone who shared that story with me to please, if they know someone, tell that specific individual who that has actually happened to please reach out to our Emergency Operations Center, because it has to be investigated. It's very, very serious. Can you tell me if we have someone or anyone in Seminole County that you're aware of that this has actually happened to, or are we asking people to please report that if that's the case?
So, as you know, there's a lot of people out that have very strong opinions about COVID-19 in general. They say it's a hoax. They say it's not real. That the hospitalizations are all fake, that's nothing. So there's a lot of misinformation out there. What you're bringing up is very interesting because we have heard that, and it's very interesting how many people have the exact same friend that talked to the exact same friend at some gym somewhere, and it's the same exact line of, so this email is just making its rounds around. So let me just say clearly, the CDC, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, does not have the bandwidth to write letters to every positive individual in the entire United States of America. They simply do not have that. We have an individual that used to work here in our Emergency Operations Center that works at the EOC of the CDC. I called him and he laughed about that. They're getting the same exact urban legend message up in Atlanta, Georgia. So it's making its rounds around the entire United States. We at our drive-through sites, as well as the Florida Department of Health and True Health, which are the 3 drive-up sites here in Seminole County, do not collect personal information until you have your test done. It is impossible for us to go a mile down the road, have someone pass out a piece of paper. I don't know how that piece of paper would make it up to the testing site where we do the swab. It just doesn't make any sense. There's nothing there that makes any sense whatsoever. You have to get up to us to do the test with the nurse for us to collect the personal information to attach. It's just like if you go to LabCorp, you go to Quest, they say, hey, is this your name? Is this it? Yes, sign, okay, go. And it's the same exact thing. So everything about that email, and when I was reading it, I actually chuckled a little bit because it's so far stretched. But unfortunately, people send it from a trusted source. It may be a family member, it may be a friend that you trust. Well, that friend got it from another friend that they trust, and somehow it got to them, and for some reason it's being passed around a lot. But we have found nothing like that. There's no way for us to even collect the information for that to even happen. And there's no way for us to provide a test result unless we have a test. So it just doesn't make any sense.
I certainly appreciate that clarification. So there are some friends of mine who are very adamant that this is in fact happening. So if it has happened to a specific individual and they have received that letter, would you like for them to contact someone in our organization?
Oh, absolutely. Contact me specifically. I want to see that letter, because we'll track down where this letter came from, It'd be very interesting if it came from the CDC.
Wonderful. I will pass that along. Thank you.
Yeah, to Alan's point, Commissioner Lockhart, a couple things. One, I went and I've been tested, and I can tell you that you fill out the paperwork, it stays with you. You don't give it to anybody until you get ready to give the swab. And basically, if you do a drive-through, they take it right off your windshield wiper blade. They walk around and go, "Is this you?" "Yes, that's me." "Okay, sign here." Then they swab, then they take it. I also went out to the Home Depot site and visited a couple of the other drive-through sites just to see if somehow somebody could be swapping paperwork or keep. I didn't see it or experience it, but and I've received the same emails myself. So good point. I'm glad you brought that up. So if you know, unfortunately, hopefully it's not true. If it is true, I guess we need to get to the bottom of it. But if it's not true, unfortunate that people are leveraging this for whatever their own motives are, unfortunately. So any further questions for Mr. Harris? Seeing none, well, again, thank you, Alan, very much. And thank everybody at the EOC on behalf of the commission and the community here as a whole. As usual, you're in day 132. Who would have ever thought you would have had emergency management activated this long? So again, thank you and be well.
Thank you very much, y'all.
All right, very well. Next up, we have our awards and presentations. We're going to get a presentation on the Wekiva Parkway update. Today, we're going to have Mr. John Tyler with the Florida Department of Transportation, who will be presenting the update on that Wekiva Parkway project. Mary Brooks and Nick Luley will also be available for questions or input should they need be. Good morning, sir. How are we today, Mr. Tyler?
Doing very well. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, commissioners, and glad to be here this morning. And I'm going to share my screen and we'll get this this update going.
Great, thank you.
Okay, hopefully everyone can see my screen now. So again, thank you very much. FDOT is glad to be here this morning to give the commission an update on Wekiva Parkway. We're going to go through a general update and have time at the end for any questions and concerns that you may have for us. My name is John Tyler. I'm the Director of Operations for Florida DOT District 5 and responsible for the construction oversight for Wekiva Parkway. Interesting to listen to what's going on in Seminole County in response to the pandemic. It's good to report that all of our construction projects around Central Florida have been able to maintain their momentum during this time period, and we've been able to make very good progress, and that includes the progress on Wekiva Parkway. All right, so just to give you a big picture overview, I'm sure most people are familiar with this. The 25-mile Wekiva Parkway is going to be completing the Beltway, the missing link, so to speak, around greater Orlando area. This long-awaited parkway is going to be providing travel alternatives, enhancing safety, and relieving congestion on many of our local roadways, including US 441 and State Road 46, along with other area roads. The $1.6 billion Wekiva Parkway is being developed in a partnership between the Central Florida Expressway and Florida DOT. The parkway includes a number of non-tolled improvements, including widening of about 7 miles of State Road 46, reconstruction of the US 441 State Road 46 interchange in Mount Dora, relocating the County Road 46A out of the Seminole State Forest to improve wildlife connectivity, and building parallel non-tolled service roads for local travel. The department is also constructing a multi-use trail, with a portion of that is already under construction in Lake County. During the design and construction of the parkway, the local employment has been benefited by nearly 36,000 direct and indirect jobs as a result of the parkway's design and construction efforts across all the segments. The parkway represents a unique transportation solution that also helps protect wildlife and other natural resources in the Wekiva River Basin. Our agencies have diligently adhered to the 2004 Wekiva Parkway Protection Act, setting aside 3,400 acres of land for conservation, as well as construction of several substantial wildlife crossing bridges. The parkway will have a minimal number of interchanges, helping to reduce the amount of related development in this environmentally sensitive area. I lost my place. There we go. Okay, so this is a kind of a snapshot, high-level view of where we are with all of the different segments, giving you a perspective of what we've been doing over the last almost 9 years with design, right-of-way acquisition, and construction. The red line there in the center shows you where we are today, and by this fall, we will have only a few projects left under construction, the projects that are actually in Seminole County, with the rest of the Wekiva Parkway open for service. So this overall map of the corridor gives you an idea of where each of these sections are. The DOT sections are labeled in green, and the CFX sections are labeled in purple. Almost 13 miles of the parkway are currently open to date. Those opening dates are shown there in the yellow text. And for those segments that are still under construction, the white year dates are when we expect to open those segments to construction. So in just a few months, the Wekiva Section 3A, 3B over in Mount Dora, we expect to open that interchange and the widening on 46 there. Section 5, which was the realignment of County Road 46A, we opened that to traffic this past fall. And again, that will leave Wekiva 6, 7A, 7B, and the final piece, Section 8, under construction, which I'm going to go into next. So Section 6 runs through East Lake County across the Wekiva River and into Seminole County. This is the longest section of the parkway at roughly 6 miles long. Work began in October of 2017. This is a design-build project that's largely replacing State Road 46 with an elevated parkway and a parallel non-tolled service road for local trips. Currently, State Road 46 traffic is on this new service road in several locations. The non-tolled service road will allow folks to continue to travel east or west without paying a toll if they so choose. Our next major traffic shift is to shift traffic onto our major wildlife crossing bridge at the west end of the project, where traffic is currently going over a temporary bridge. On the Seminole County side, we will be shifting into a roundabout configuration near Osprey Hammock Trail early next year. This section is expected to be completed in early 2022. Section 7A extends the parkway another 3.5 miles to Orange Boulevard in Seminole County. Section 7A features a 4-lane elevated parkway with parallel non-tolled service roads, 1 lane in each direction, north and south of the parkway. This section features roundabouts at intersections that will provide access to the parkway via slip ramps. And as far as MOT, we will be shifting to that split configuration by the end of this year. The overall completion date for Section 7A is expected to be 2022. Section 7B is the last non-tolled improvement for the parkway. It involves widening State Road 46 to 6 lanes from Orange Boulevard down to Oregon Street and Wayside Drive. The project began in summer of 2019 and is expected to finish in late 2021. As far as MOT shifts in this area, you can expect to see traffic shifted to the south side of State Road 46 to allow for the westbound travel lane widening. And the final segment that I'll speak about is Section 8. This is a design-build project that includes the new Wekiva Parkway interchange at I-4 and will connect to State Road 417, completing that beltway around Central Florida. This section started in late 2018 and is scheduled to finish in early 2023. As far as MOT, what you want to be on the lookout for are the shifting of or traffic shifts related to opening and closing ramps to and from I-4 and 417 as we make some modifications and prepare for the next phases of traffic. For all of these projects that I have mentioned, there will be landscaping that will be performed as a separate project that will be following in the wake of each segment, section 6, 7A, 7B, and 8. As soon as major construction operations are complete on each of those sections, a separate landscaping project will come through and install the landscaping. One of the reasons that we do it that way is our landscaping contracts do have a 2-year establishment period to ensure that that landscaping survives, gets itself established before we turn it over to our maintenance. And with that, I am ready to answer any questions or comments or concerns that the commissioners may have.
Great. Thank you, John, very much for your presentation. Anyone from the commission have any inquiries? Like Commissioner Delary, you have your hand raised.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, thank you. I want to thank DOT as well as the Turnpike folks and all the other folks associated with this project. It is a phenomenal project, not just for us in Seminole, but for the region. 2 questions I have. They were talking about the trail in Lake County, which I think is the right thing to do, but I want to make sure that we're also putting that trail bridge in going over the Wekiva. And just wanted to get some additional feedback on that. That was going to be my first question, but I have a second question after that.
Okay, thank you for that, Commissioner Delary. Yes, we do have plans to construct the trail over the Wekiva River. Nick or Mary, are you guys able to give us some specifics as to which of the 3 bridges will include that trail crossing and when we can expect it to be constructed?
Yes, this is Nick Lowley, if you all can hear me. Thanks for having us this morning. So if you drive over the Wekiva River now, you can actually see that trail along the south side of that bridge. So we opened the Service Road Bridge in January, and that's where that trail will be. So all of that will be interconnected.
Okay, great. I just want to make sure we're moving forward with that because obviously here in Seminole County, trails and greenways are very important to us.
Absolutely.
Next question I have is that there was an issue with a property just north of Colonial Town where the interchange is at I-4 and the 417 and there was an issue with the stormwater. I just wanted to make sure that's getting resolved. Your attorneys may be involved in it. I'm not too sure.
Yes, sir. We are still in contact with both the developer and our contractor to try to coordinate that work. So we are progressing towards resolution. I don't have a specific update today. I'll defer to Nick to see if he has any additional information, but we are still working to get that issue resolved.
Yeah, great. I just want to make sure we're moving in that direction. And when you do get a resolution, all of us would love to get an update.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right. Nick, did you want to say something further?
I was just saying we'll provide that update once we have something finalized. That's no problem.
Great. Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Commissioner Constantine, then Commissioner Carey.
John, you know how important this project is to everybody. It's something that has been part of my life for the last nearly over 20 years. My question is this: every year I say, I can't wait to drive on it. I hope I still have my driver's license. I'm not too old to drive when this thing gets done. I just, for the first time, and this is either at the Wekiva Basin Commission that I chair or this meeting or any other updates that I've had, whether it be MPO or to see the date 2023. The last time we had a meeting, it was 2022. The time before that, it was 2021. So, and 2021 was the initial date. And since you said you haven't missed any momentum during this time period, what is the slowdown? What has caused the delay?
Yes, sir. That's an excellent question. Commissioner, and glad you brought that up and prepared and glad to address that. So first, in terms of momentum, it's the momentum of the actual construction field operations that are underway. We've been able to not miss a beat, so to speak, with the current construction operations. So the two projects that are experiencing the greatest amount of delay compared to the original completion schedule are section 7A and 8, which are the final two segments to come online and to be the completion of the parkway. So I'll first talk about section 7A. We experienced a delay in our procurement of the construction contract for that project as we worked through all of the utility coordination that exists. And that's the section, if you recall, is going to be a 4-lane elevated section. There's a lot of utilities, both Seminole County as well as Florida Gas Transmission. And that proved to be a significant challenge in terms of timing and coordination to ensure that all of the services were still provided during construction and then our construction could accommodate that. So that set us back several months before we could begin construction. Then once we got under construction, if you recall, this section also had a default of the original highway construction contractor, and it's been turned over to a completion contractor. That completion contractor has hit the ground running. There's been a tremendous amount of work, and we are trying to gain back as much as we can. But nonetheless, it did push out the 7A completion date to what it is today. The next segment is section 8. That section, when we went, that is a design build project. And the reason I bring that back up is will be apparent hopefully in just a moment. So when we were going through the procurement of that project, the department produced a design for the interchange, and it received the appropriate federal highway approvals for both interchanges as well as environmental approvals. Part of a design build process is getting the best value that you can for a transportation project, and it actually has an opportunity where a design build team can propose a better mousetrap, so to speak. And so they came to us during the procurement process and said, we think that we have a better design that will actually save you a considerable amount of money. And so we listened to that, and they were the winner of that contract, and we decided to move forward with their proposed interchange redesign. That interchange redesign saved the department and the taxpayers close to $20 million. But unfortunately, we did have to go back to Federal Highway Administration, show them our new proposed design, and go through the approval process again, which we have done and we have received, and we've been out there constructing for the better part of a year now. But that did set the major construction operations back by about 6 months. But again, we did that to have a better product in the long run, both not just to save money. I mean, saving money is in our best interest as well. But we're also going to have an improved interchange for the lifespan of this interchange. So those are the two reasons. I know that's a fairly long-winded answer to your question, Commissioner Constantine, but wanted to tell you all of the things that we have been doing that has led us to early 2023. And let me also add a little bit of context to that. So that early 2023 is on the final piece, which is section 8. So as section 6 and 7A and 7B, as they individually complete, we will be opening up those sections as they come online. So the final piece is section 8. Now, currently today, the construction contract for 8, the contractor has time through the fall of 2022, late 2022. And in fact, we have a sizable incentive for that contractor to finish in 2022. However, since he does have contract time, and we also know that it rains in Central Florida, and we also have holiday season towards the end of our calendar years. So we have realistically put out a early 2023 completion time frame to the public and our partners, so that they fully understand that even though we do have an incentive and we're targeting early 2022, there still is a possibility that it could be, late 2022. There still is a possibility that early 2023 could be the actual completion. But we are still working very diligently to get this thing opened up in late 2022.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. And I think Commissioner Carey had a question. Thank you, Commissioner Carey, who also takes leadership role at CFX as the chairperson at CFX. So thank you, Commissioner Carey, for diligently overseeing that portion and interacting with DOT. So please proceed.
And as the chairman of the Expressway Authority, I just wanted to publicly state that we have had a wonderful working relationship with DOT on the Wekiva projects. And as you said, you know, there's a lot of moving parts to these projects. And so when you're publicly giving a date, it's better to give a longer period and then surprisingly open early. But I will tell you that with the incentives that have been put in place on all of these segments of roads, the last segment that we did finished early. You know, we got a delayed start because we decided to go get a TIFIA loan, which is a little more complicated to get because it involves the federal transportation group. So I think it can be done. I was going to say they are moving a lot of dirt in Section 8 out there and making a lot of great progress. And so as I go up and down the corridor there, I know they had some challenges with the bridge going across the Wekiva. We've had some traffic issues out in my district because of some of the construction. So we've all been working through that, but it's been a great partnership, and DOT has done a wonderful job in responding to our staff when we have contacted them regarding issues along 46, because that all happens to fall in my district out there. So thank you very much, Mr. Tyler and the team. Mary Brooks does a wonderful job keeping everybody informed. And so it's a great partnership, and hopefully we can build more roads through Central Florida together. And congratulations too on the 408 and I-4 opening. So another partnership between the Expressway Authority and DOT. So thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Any further inquiries of our guests from DOT today? Seeing none, Mr. Tyler, Ms. Brooks, Mr. Luley, thank you very much for being here with us today. And Mr. Tyler, I hope you find some reading material for the bookcases in the background there.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you all. Be well. Okay, Clint, just want to make sure you've got public queued up. Everything good on your end on the technology side, Clint?
Yes, sir.
Great. Well, now we're going to move into our consent agenda portion of today's agenda. And public participation is governed by Florida law. The public has a right to be heard on all propositions except when the Board of County Commissioners is acting on ministerial or emergency matters or conducting a meeting exempt from Section 286.011 Florida statutes. Public comment time on propositions shall be 3 minutes for individuals and 6 minutes for group representatives. The right to be heard during quasi-judicial hearings is governed by Florida law. The public will be provided the opportunity to be heard on non-agenda items at the end of the meeting. Proper decorum will be observed. County Manager, do you have any changes to your consent agenda?
Chairman, I don't have any changes to the consent agenda. We did add 2 items onto the county manager's agenda, which would have normally been consent agenda items, but because of the program, it's difficult to plug them into the actual consent agenda. So you could approve them now or during the county manager's report. They're items number 74 and 75. The first one is related to a master services agreement for the Rolling Hills Community Park Plan. And then the other item is authorizing the county manager to sign the agreement related to the additional $1.1 million in CARES Act funding that the county will receive related to the SHIP program. So you can do those now as part of the consent agenda unless county attorney has an objection to that, or you could do them when we do the county manager's report this afternoon.
Very well. Commission, have you all had an opportunity to review those items that have been added? What is the pleasure of the board? Would you rather do those on the consent, or would you rather do that under the county manager's report?
Just doing mine.
Consent.
Consent, I would agree. Okay. All right. Anything else, Ms. Guillet?
So, Mr.
Nothing.
Chairman, you probably didn't see that Commissioner Lockhart's off the screen now because her county computer is doing an automatic update and they couldn't stop it.
Okay.
I'm not sure how long that will take, but there's only 4 of us on the board, on the call right now, so.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Well, yes, Commissioner Delarey.
Mr. Chairman, maybe we should just take a 5-minute break to get that computer back and running, or get it to switch to another computer.
Yeah, I don't know how long the update's going to take, but yeah, maybe
I think she's switching over to another computer, so hopefully
Okay.
that won't take long.
All right. Well, let's.
Public comment, and because I think there's one item on here, I understand that there's a representative on one of the items that was going to call in, I think item number 9, 125 Leon Street. So maybe we can take the
Yeah.
public comment.
Sure, we'll go to that. Welcome back,
Boy. that
alien
that
grab.
little pop-up, scary. Be on your toes. Could be you next.
Maybe we should talk to IT about update schedules, like between the hours of 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. in the morning,
Sure. That'd be good.
and not on a Tuesday.
Yeah. All right. I'm so sorry for that
No,
disruption. but
no,
I'm
that's
back.
all good. It's all good. Okay, well, let's go and see if we have any members of the public would like to make a comment. They're attending the meeting using a computer, iPad, or electronic device. Click on the raise hand feature. If you've called in on a telephone, you can raise your hand by pressing *9. You'll be called on in the order that you've raised your hands. Do we have anyone from the public who would like to comment on any of the county manager's consent items 2 through 61, and the add-on items 74 and 75?
We do.
I'm sorry, Clint?
Yes, we do.
Okay. And if you would cue that individual in so I can identify that person. Miss Calderon,
Hello, can you hear me?
we can, and welcome.
Great.
If you would
Thank you very
please state your name and address for the record, then please state the agenda item in which you are going to speak about.
Good morning. Actually, it's not my home. I actually represent the bank. I'm the attorney. My name is Tammy Calderoni, and I represent the bank of a matter that's going to be going into foreclosure, actually. The property is located at 351 West Hornbeam Drive in Longwood. And the notice for the hearing today was for Robert Wheeler and U.S. Bank, and I represent U.S. Bank in their future foreclosure proceedings. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to file a foreclosure yet, but we're here just to see what's going to go on with this lien.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I don't know the number of what it is on your agenda, though.
10.
That is number.
10. It's number 10. I thought I think there's, I also was told by staff that someone may be calling in on item number 9. So this is item number 10 that she's referring to. It's a 351 West Hornbeam Drive, lien for $13,139.56.
Yeah. Okay. So, ma'am,
Yes, we just wanted to see. I know that the structure was already demolished, and my client asked me to come on here just to kind of preserve their interest, but to see if there's a way that we could postpone this maybe into the next hearing, or if we could propose, because it could potentially be detrimental for the sale later on. I understand that the work has already been done, but they just wanted me to come on here, just make sure to see what happened, see if the lien was placed on, or if you guys would be willing to prolong the assessing the lien now and waiting, because Unfortunately, Governor DeSantis put that order on no evictions, no foreclosures. We haven't even been able to file our complaint, which we are ready and willing to do. So we're hoping by August 1 we can do that, but we don't know if he's going to extend it again.
Sure, Counselor, in all due respect, I don't know that the governor's order has to do with vacant land as far as foreclosure and eviction would be, I don't think comes into play of this. Are you prepared to speak on behalf of the bank as to your position? Are you saying?
Yes, I represent the bank, and right now, unfortunately, we're not the subject property owners. They just wanted me to come on here to protect the collateral as much as possible, because the reason why I mentioned the foreclosure is because my client has not been able to file the foreclosure to obtain title ownership back to the property yet. So, we just try to, mitigate these as much as we can and ahead of time, but this is already done. Unfortunately, the Wheelers didn't do anything. They're still the owners. And so it was just my position to come in to let you guys know that we're in the process of trying to file the foreclosure so we can obtain either a third party or we can obtain title ownership and make any of the amends that need to happen and pay off the lien. But they just asked me to see if you guys would be willing to push the lien off. I know that that's not typically something you would do, but that's why I'm here.
Yeah, that's pretty much correct. And I find it difficult to understand why you've not been able to process any documentation through the court system, which remains open, although not so much in personal appearance, but most of the courts are absolutely taking these matters up. So I'm not sure what constraints you may have there, but Commissioner Carey, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, so, we've already removed the structures off of this property, and this is our actual cost for doing it. And I certainly wouldn't want to see us delay a lien being placed, because then if the bank does something and sells the property and we don't have a lien in place, we're likely not to get reimbursed. And this is taxpayer money that is already, cleaned up a situation because it was a, public health safety issue, which is why the structure was torn down. So, I understand what the representative is saying, but they can settle the lien after they get ownership.
Ms. Calderoni, if you would, one moment. The county attorney would like to say something.
Sure.
Mr. Applegate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As usual, Commissioner Carey beat me to the punch. Also, just add to what she said, and that is that the governor's orders have no impact on your decision whether to impose a lien or not. In fact, I would recommend that you do that under the circumstances.
Thank you, Mr. Applegate. All right, Ms. Calderoni, anything else you'd like to add today?
No, I was actually just going to ask, this is a particular lien for a certain amount. Is there going to be an accrual, a daily accrual or anything along those lines that I should know about? Or is this just a lien for the amount of the work that was done, $13,139.56? Just so I know what to tell my client.
This will be the lien amount, but I would encourage you to reach out to our county staff. If you would get in touch with the county manager's office here at the county, they'll be happy to assist you with all that detail and all that information.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, and be well. Okay, Clint, do we have anyone else that wishes to speak from the public on the county manager's consent agenda items today?
Yes, sir.
Okay, if you'd bring them in, please. Good morning. I can't see the full name, so forgive me. It's Lorraine. Are you with us?
Yes, I am.
I'm sorry, dear. I can't see your full name. So
it's Nedergaard, Lorraine Nedergaard. I'm at 2345 Carrollton Road in English Estates.
Okay. And what item are you calling about today? What agenda item are you calling about?
74 or 75. This is sidewalks proposed in English Estates.
Not
okay.
Oh no, I don't
think either one of those have anything to do with sidewalks in English Estates.
There's
according,
confusion. If we could have the county manager maybe address, I think what was said was the county manager's consent agenda, and there are members who live in English estates who've been told that the sidewalk issue will be taken up under the county manager's item. And so I think the semantics might be confusing. So maybe Nicole, could you clarify?
Sure.
Thanks.
Sure. I'm sorry for the confusion. It is unusual for us to have a listed items under the county manager's report. The English estates issue, the sidewalk issue, as I've discussed with each of the board members individually, is a matter that we will take up under the county manager's report this afternoon in the afternoon session. The two items, the two items that I referenced this morning, 74 and 75, were separate items not related to English estates under the county manager's report. The county manager's report will take place this afternoon in the afternoon session, which starts at 1:30 this afternoon. And my understanding is that the chairman is going to provide for public comment on that matter at that time.
I see. Okay, so, okay, we'll tune in this afternoon then. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry for the confusion. Okay, do we have anyone else, Clint?
No, sir.
Okay, seeing none, let's move on to board action, board discussion on items 2 through 61 and 74 and 75.
Mr. Chairman, I would move approval of items, consent agenda items 2 through 61, 74, and 75.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Carey and a second by Commissioner Constantine.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Delary?
can we remove item number 27 as a comment I'd like to make? I plan on approving it, but there's a couple of things I'd like to do for clarification purposes.
Okay, we can pull item 27.
Mr. Chairman, does it need to be pulled for a separate vote, or is it something
No, I
that we comment on now before we under discussion for the motion?
I don't think we need to pull it unless it's asked to be pulled. We can have discussion on it, if that's okay.
That's fine. And my issues, if you'd like for me to bring it up now, Mr. Chairman, that's okay.
Okay, there was a revision on item number 27 on the language that circulated around, so.
Correct.
Okay.
There's a couple of things I want to make sure we do. First of all, I want to thank Ingrid Bryant as well as Jimmy Jones, who both live in the Oviedo area, for bringing this forward. But more importantly, there's a couple of names. I just want to make sure we're getting the spelling correct. And I want to make sure that staff is going to do that.
Well, Commissioner Delary, not to interrupt you, but you do know that there was some name corrections
I know.
Over the weekend, actually, I believe.
I realize that. I just want to make sure that we're going to get the names spelled the way they want us to spell them.
So are they still, after the edits went out, Commissioner, are they still spelled wrong?
I just want to get that in writing from those actual individuals and from the Historical Commission. I want to make sure that everything is spelled correctly.
Well, we all want to make sure that, but there were some revisions that made some of those changes. So my question for you is, after you've reviewed the revisions, are they correct or are they still wrong?
They seem to be, but I just want to make sure that staff re-verifies it to make sure that they're correct.
Okay, can we just ask that staff just verify and get with the Historical Society and the heirs or those individuals to ensure that the proper spelling of the names are correct? Thank you. All right, anything else for discussion on the consent agenda?
That was my main concern, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Constantine, did you have something you wanted to speak about?
It's okay.
Okay. All right, we have a motion and a second. I will now call the vote. Commissioner Delary?
Aye.
Lockhart?
Aye.
Carey?
Aye.
Constantine?
Yes.
Zembauer, yes. Okay, very good. We will now move on to the county attorney's agenda item number 62. Also, so that everybody knows, we are going to continue to take roll call votes throughout the virtual meeting to memorialize it for the interest of the public so they understand what we're doing when we call those rolls. So, Mr. Applegate?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know that bond counsel and a representative for Choices in Learning are on the lines in case they want to comment, but this is yet another private revenue bond deal from the Arizona Industrial Development Authority for charter schools in Seminole County. Both myself and our outside bond counsel have approved the documents. Again, there's no obligation imposed on Seminole County in these type of deals. We always make sure that the required hearing under the Internal Revenue Code was conducted. Minutes are now part of the record, and bond counsel and myself recommend approval.
Okay. Do we have anybody, Clint, from the public that wishes to speak on item 62?
No, sir.
Okay, seeing none, we will look for board action.
Move approval, Constantine.
Second, Carrie.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Constantine. I think the second was by Commissioner Lockhart. I
Carrie.
heard?
Either one.
Okay.
Fine.
Okay. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll call the vote. Commissioner Delary?
Aye.
Lockhart?
Aye.
Carrie?
Aye.
Constantine?
Yes.
Zembauer? Yes. Okay, next we'll move on to the constitutional officers consent agenda, the clerk's office. Mr. Malloy?
Move approval of the clerk's expenditure report, Mr. Chairman.
Second, Delary.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Carey, second by Commissioner Delary. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. Commissioner Delary?
Aye.
Lockhart?
Aye.
Carey?
Aye.
Constantine?
Aye.
Zembauer? Aye. Okay, next item is a memorandum of understanding between Seminole County government and Perfect Game. We are going to have Danny Trossett, the sports tourism manager, will be presenting to us today. Mr. Trossett, welcome.
Good morning, Chairman. Good morning, Commissioners. For the record, Danny Trossett, Director of Sports Tourism for Orlando North Seminole County Sports. For your consideration this morning, item number 64 is a memorandum of understanding between Seminole County government and Perfect Game, which if approved would designate Perfect Game as a preferred operator at the Boomba Seminole County Sports Complex for a period of 5 years to begin January 1, 2021. This would allow Seminole County to be the official Florida home base for Perfect Game. This performance-based agreement, which would commence in January, provides Perfect Game with mutually agreed upon dates to host more than 30 large baseball events annually held at the Boomba Sports Complex. These tournaments are anticipated to draw more than 100,000 visitors, produce 40,000 room nights, and generate an estimated $25 million in economic impact for the local economy. The guarantee of 40,000 hotel room nights each year nearly doubles the current amount of room nights generated by events held at the sports complex, currently standing at 23,000. To provide some more background on this opportunity before you today, Perfect Game is the largest amateur baseball scouting and event service in the world. They currently host over 1,400 events all throughout the country. Seminole County has had the privilege to host multiple Perfect Game national baseball tournaments at the sports complex over the last 3 years, which have generated more than 23,000 visitors, 10,000 room nights, and over $9 million in economic impact, making Perfect Game the highest room night producing organization currently utilizing the sports complex. As a matter of fact, we are currently hosting 3 events with Perfect Game right now at the Boomba Sports Complex today. Because of the great relationship we've developed over the past 3 years with Perfect Game, we had this opportunity of exploring the possibility of making Seminole County the Florida home for Perfect Game. The goal for Perfect Game was to find the right venue, the right destination where Perfect Game could bring a large majority of their Florida national events to one single location. This would allow Perfect Game to focus on growing these events while also adding new events to their already strong event portfolio. Over the past several months, our team here at the county has worked closely with Perfect Game representatives to develop the attached memorandum of understanding. Some of the summary of benefits of the partnership: it allows Seminole County to develop a preferred operator opportunity with one of our top producing clients and top travel baseball tournament event organization in the world. Perfect Game anticipates significant growth of these events and is looking for a long-term partnership with the county. This is a performance-based agreement, which guarantees these events will produce a minimum of 40,000 room nights annually. And if Perfect Game falls short of the room night guarantee, there will be a payment remitted to the county at the end of each year. These events are expected, as I mentioned, to generate 40,000 rooms, 25 million in economic impact. So if approved, our projections for fiscal year 2021 for all events held at the sports complex, including the Perfect Game events, could reach 48,000 room nights and $38 million in economic impact. Perfect Game understands that its top priority is to fill hotel rooms in Seminole County. If overflow hotel rooms are needed outside of the county for some of the larger events, because there will be larger events, Perfect Game has agreed to a revenue share on rebates collected by Perfect Game, which would be returned back to the county for any room nights that are generated outside of the county. Perfect Game's intention is to bring enhanced technology, regional and national sponsors to the sports complex. Seminole County will work in good faith with Perfect Game and its affiliates to support additional economic development initiatives that may be possible with the increased volume of visitors and tourists that Perfect Game will attract to our destination, as well as possible new jobs. Seminole County Economic Development and Perfect Game will work closely as we progress in these discussions. Seminole County will continue to operate the sports complex, host tournaments outside of Perfect Game events, and locals will still have the same opportunity to utilize the fields as has been the practice. This COVID-19 pandemic has greatly impacted the sports tourism industry. More than 12,000 room nights and $10 million in economic impact have vanished due to canceled events scheduled between March and June of 2020. The proposed agreement with Perfect Game will be invaluable for our local economy and our tourism industry as we look to rebound from this pandemic. In the 12 plus years I have been with Seminole County, this is by far the best sports tourism opportunity that we've ever had, and it would be a game changer for Seminole County. Staff is recommending approval that the board authorize the county manager to execute a contract consistent with the terms of the Memorandum of Understanding between Seminole County and Perfect Game. Also present with me today and here to answer any questions you may have, I know you can't see him on the screen, but we have Dev Pathik, owner of Sports Facility Advisories Group, as well as Ben Ford, the Vice President of Perfect Game. And we're more than happy to answer any questions the board might have.
Great. Thank you, Danny, very much. Any questions from the commission? Commissioner Carey, please.
Yeah, I just want to say, Mr. Trossett, this is a great opportunity, and y'all have done a great job. I know sometimes it's challenging to work through these memorandum of understanding and make sure that it works for everybody, but you've even covered the part about, if they had to get hotels outside of our county, we get 5% of the rebate that they get. So, I mean, I just think that it's probably been a great effort on the sports team's leadership and your staff. And I just wanted to say kudos, because I think the Memorandum of Understanding is very thorough. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Commissioner Lockhart.
I would echo what Commissioner Carey just said and giving kudos and say this is a wonderful win-win. I think that it's just tremendous. I'm looking forward to our organizations working together, and I know your team over there, Danny, is going to do a wonderful job. And I'm excited also about some of the improvements that will be able to take place over at Boomba because of this relationship. So we're continuing to improve and move forward, and I love to see that in every area of the county, but especially Boomba is just so critical to this county's legacy, and I'm thrilled that there is going to continue to be intentionally opportunities for our local teams to play there. That's been something that's been very important, I know, to all of us. So thank you for making sure that that continues to happen.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Commissioner Lockhart. Commissioner Delory, your hand is still raised. Are you trying to get in?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Please go ahead.
I'll make it very brief. I just want to say thank you to Perfect Game. I also want to thank our staff for their hard work. Danny, your team has been phenomenal. And this is a great model or a template to move forward with other contracts and agreements. So well done. And as was said by the other commissioners, this will be very important for us to move forward to help our economy get back on track. And I want to thank you all for their hard work and their dedication. Look forward to seeing everyone on the field. Thank you.
Thank you,
Great.
Commissioner.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Chairman, with that,
Wait a minute.
sorry.
Commissioner Constantine?
Just wanted to say great job, and I know the Tourist Development Commission is very appreciative also, because it does, in this difficult time, give us some guarantees that I think everybody is very thrilled to have.
Great. Thank you. Clint, before we go to action on the board, do we have anybody from the public that wishes to speak on this item?
No, sir. No raised hands.
Okay. With none seen, I'll go to board action.
Move approval of item 64, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Great.
Yeah, I got a motion by Carrie, second by Constantine. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the roll. Commissioner Delary?
Aye.
Lockhart?
Aye.
Carrie?
Aye.
Constantine?
Yes.
Zembauer, yes. Mr. Trossett, thank you very much. I think this is a great opportunity for Seminole County, and the sports front is, from an economic development standpoint, it's something that is going to be great coming out of this pandemic and as we move forward. So please, you and your staff be well, and we look forward to doing business with you all.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.
Take care. All right, next we are going to go to item 65, which is the Budget Division. Is going to present item number 65. The presenter will be Sarah Herrick on behalf of the Deputy CFO. This is item 65, millage trim rates and trim notification. Ms. Carrick, welcome.
So, thank you, Chairman. Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Sarah Carrick, Financial Administrator with the Resource Management Department. In compliance with truth and millage requirements, Item 65 presented before you today requests approval to establish the FY21 proposed millage rates and to set the date, time, and place of your first public hearing to adopt the tentative budget and millage rates. This year, staff has held 4 work sessions with the board to develop the FY21 proposed budget, which was distributed to the board on June 15th and is being presented under the assumption of maintaining the current millage rates for all BCC taxing districts. Countywide taxable property values grew by 7% over FY20, with 5.5% attributed to reappraisals of existing properties and 1.5% from new construction. The Road District MSTU experienced a 6.7% growth over FY20, and the county's Fire District MSTU also increased by 6.7%. As a result of this growth, total ad valorem revenues will increase by $11.4 million in general fund, $127,000 in the Transportation Trust Fund, and $4.5 million in Fire District funds. The proposed aggregate millage rate for all BCC taxing districts is 6.9011 mils, which represents a 5% increase over the current year aggregate rollback millage rate of 6.5726 mils. The FY21 proposed millage rates are unchanged from the rates levied by the board in fiscal year 20. The rates include a countywide property tax rate of 4.8751 mils, a fire district millage rate of 2.7649 mils, and an unincorporated road district millage of 0.1107 mils. The total proposed millage to be levied by the BCC is 7.7507 mils. In addition, staff requests that the board set the first public hearing for Wednesday, September 9th, 2020 for tentative adoption, and the second public hearing on Tuesday, September 22nd, 2020 for final adoption of millage rates and the budget. Both hearings will be held at 7 p.m. in the BCC chambers. Now, pending the status of Executive Order 20-069, the public hearing may be held virtually at the same time. Prior to the meetings, members of the public should check the county's website at www.seminolecountyfl.gov for more information on how to participate in the hearings. This concludes our presentation, and we'd be glad to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Ms. Carrick. And do we have any questions from the board? Clint, do we have anyone on the phone from the public that wishes to speak on item 65?
No, sir.
Okay, seeing none, I will move up. Commissioner Lockhart, I'm sorry, I didn't see your hand.
That's okay. I just put it up. I wanted to wait and see if there was any public comment. Because of the way that we are required by Florida law to advertise with the trim notice, I know it can cause a lot of confusion and heartburn among our citizens when they see that there is a tax increase. And Sarah, I don't know if you would like to address this or if maybe Ms. Guillet would like to address this, but I think it's important that we get on the record that the millage that's being proposed is staying flat. And then I'd also like to know if there is a way that we could estimate a homesteaded property owner's potential taxes this year, what that might look like. I've actually seen some suggestions that perhaps some people will go down. Can someone address both of those issues for us?
Okay, I could go ahead, and we do present in our work session book an example of a homesteaded exempted property and how much the proposed tax bill would be. With that said, that's preliminary millage rates. We don't know what all the other, like the school board's final millage rates would be. And I actually just talked to them last week, and they provided me an update, and they actually went down in their millage. So we do provide that in the book, and we also, I believe, provide that in our first public hearing as well that we could address. But yeah.
Okay, I think that's really important. Social media being a blessing and a curse, I've seen quite a bit of traffic that, you know, the county is increasing taxes and the school board is increasing taxes. And in fact, as you said, the school board's millage is actually going down. But because of the new growth, the total revenue is increasing. And so they're having to advertise it by law as a tax increase. And I just want to make sure that we are very clear that what is being proposed today is a flat millage rate. The rate is not going up.
That's correct. Yes.
All right. Thanks.
Mr. Chairman, it might be helpful for the public if Ms. Derrick would just talk about the rollback rate, because a lot of people don't understand that the rollback rate, while they have to report it as being an increase, but the rollback rate would just keep our cash flat. So maybe you want to explain that for the purposes of the public.
Of course. So the rollback rate is how much we would generate in taxable value of the previous year if we kept everything the same. Now, in terms of, because an increase in revenues and people's property taxes because of the market doing well, then we increase the amount that we receive, and therefore that's why we have an increase in revenue. But it's the rollback rate is how much you would have if you had the same collection as you did the previous year.
Does that make sense for everyone?
Well, I think so. If you wanted to have the same, let's just use $100 million. If you wanted to have the same $100 million this year as you did last year, you would adopt the rollback rate. And the thing about the truth and millage notice that we're voting on approving today is we can always go down. And I certainly hope that in some of our conversations that maybe we find some other cost saving ideas that we could look at that. You know, if you look historically over 20 years at what our taxes have done, I mean, they're lower today than they were when I was elected in 2004, and the millage rate is. So I think that it's not something you can explain in 30 seconds or less, which means that the whole social media thing doesn't always understand it. But just thought clarification might be helpful.
Do you mean we're raising taxes because somebody's property value increased?
Yeah, so
that's basically what it is. I mean, the reality is the market impacts the assessed value or appraised value of a given piece of property, which can go up or down in any given year, which then affects, of course, the revenue stream. I think that's the simple answer. But I don't know that we can explain in detail all the whiffs, hows, and why all that happens. I know nobody on this controls somebody's property value as far as what it's assessed or how the market goes up and down, for what that's worth. So,
Well,
Mr. Chairman.
they have to advertise it this way by law. So law requires us to advertise it this way, which makes it look as if there is an increase, because it's an increase based on value. So.
right. Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Constantine.
Thank you. I mean, everybody, we all know that we're keeping our millage rate the same. We know that it's a good thing for citizens in the long run when their property is appraised at a higher level. That means their greatest investment in most cases is going up. But there will be, and we all know who it is, a certain people that will just try to take advantage and try to make it look like we're trying to raise property taxes, which is furthest from the truth. So we all know what we're doing. We're keeping the millage rate the same. Let's move on.
All right. With that said, Clint, do we have anybody from the public that wishes to speak on this item?
No, sir. No raised hands.
Okay. Any further inquiry or statements from the board before I move to board action? Seeing none, I'll look for board action.
Move approval.
Second.
Commissioner Constantine, second by Lockhart. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the roll. Commissioner Glary? Mr. Glary? Commissioner Lockhart?
Yes.
Aye.
Mr. Carey?
Aye.
Mr. Constantine?
Yes.
Zembauer, yes. Okay, thank you. We'll move to item 66. Mr. Matthews and the Complete County Committee Chairman, Phil Capra, will present an update on the 2020 U.S. Census. Mr. Matthews and Mr. Capra, are you with us today?
Hey, good morning, Commissioners. Tony Matthews, I'm here. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me okay?
We can, Tony. Thank you for being here.
And
good morning. Good morning, Commission. This is Phil Capro, the Complete County Committee Chair.
Morning, Phil.
Morning, Tony.
Okay, I have some, first thing I'd like to do, Commissioners, is to thank you all for letting me serve on the Complete Count Committee as their coordinator this time around. And also want to thank the 25 members, volunteer members of the committee for their work. And also I'd like to thank the U.S. Census Bureau. They've given us 3 fine ladies to help us out, representatives. They've assisted me greatly in what I've been doing as coordinator and as well as the committee. So I want to single them out today. So regarding your agenda, you'll notice there's 2 things in there I'd like to go over briefly. First is to give you an update on the Complete Count Committee. And I'm pleased to say that in 2019, the resolution the board passed creating the committee, that the committee has done their work of census awareness and also toward achieving an accurate complete count. And they've also prepared and implemented their action plan. And the action plan is a part of your agenda today, I think it's attachment B. And then the second thing I'd like to go over just briefly is to ask the board to pass a resolution creating another committee that will be working with the census. And you can see that resolution's in your package. And I'd like to say regarding that is that right now we're calling it a census response team. And the reason for it, and there's on page 3 and 5 of your agenda, this goes into some detail, so I'll just touch on some highlights. As you know, the Complete Count Committee resolution that you all approved last year sunsets the Complete Count Committee as of the 31st of this month. And so you may also know that the The census should have been done by July 31st. That was the plan by the Bureau originally. However, because of the pandemic, the deadline's been pushed back to October 31st. So staff believes that we should move forward with a new team. And I'll give you just 4 quick reasons. Of course, the first one is because the extension of the deadline. Second one would be to create census awareness beyond what we've done so far. And then also for every head count, if I can use that term, that we get, that's going to impact the county, especially now when you look at the devastating impacts of the COVID-19 virus on government services, business, and industry. So that's really all my presentation. What I'd like to do now is make a recommendation for the board. And then finally, I would like to ask Chairman Phil to comment. I know he's here today to share in more detail about the committee, because as you know, he was the committee chairman. So regarding staff we recommend the board adopt and authorize the chairman to execute a resolution creating the Seminole County 2020 Census Response Team. And that would be effective of August 1st through October 31st, or if the board chooses a different date. And that recommendation is pursuant to the findings and the conditions that are set forth in the board's agenda. So commissioners, that's my report and recommendation. Try to, if you have any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Matthews, and
You're welcome.
Thank you for your unselfish time and attention to this. I know this has really been something near and dear to your heart, and I want to thank you for doing such a great job in overseeing this, as well as Mr. Capro and all those individuals who've agreed to serve on behalf of the county for the complete count census team and so forth. So it speaks volumes of those people who want to give back to their community. So thank you very much, and glad to see you here today. Mr. Capro, did you have anything that you wanted to add to the board?
Yes, Chairman, and I guess I'm on audio only. I don't know why I shaved this morning, because I thought I was going to be on screen, but that's okay. We had the privilege of serving at the county's behest for the past year on the Complete Count Committee, and there were approximately 30 of us, as you know, from all different parts of the county. When you was chair, it was my privilege. I had no idea that we were going to run into the most unique of circumstances in my lifetime, at least. And with that, our committee prevailed. They did an amazing effort of reaching out. Of particular note, we had our communications team that was led by Michelle Smith. We had our government relations team, which is people from each of the cities. We had the education committee. We've had people from all over the place doing all manner of information dissemination, if you will. People need to understand the importance of the census, and nobody understands it more, I think, than our county at this point, since we were just a few people shy of being able to get greater impact on CARES relief. And so it is super important that we continue the effort. Unfortunately, I had to recommend that the Complete Count Committee not be extended, as it were, past July 31st. We had people that have put their regular business on hold to help pursue this project. And their businesses, including my own, are understanding of that. But there was a time and a place, and we did what we could do during that time, knowing the importance to continue the messaging because of the extended period. We had a conversation with Mr. Matthews and others, and it was decided that the government representatives and the entity representatives would be best suited to continue to preserve and continue the message of the Complete Count Committee, not under our name, because those of us that are there that are already associated with that won't be continuing on. But that's why we established the CRT as a recommended program. And I think it's a fair middle ground. I don't think you're going to find a more dedicated individual than Mr. Matthews. He and I have spoken many, many times. The receptionist at my office is going to miss getting calls from him, I'm sure. But they've developed quite the friendship. That said, we need somebody who knows what's going on to run that program. And I've often described Tony over the year as the basketball coach that wants to get in and make the big play. And he is the right person to lead this from the perspective of a CRT. So not only would I recommend that you all approve the resolution, but I would suggest that you all ask Mr. Matthews to be the point person and lead on that.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Capro. Clint, do we have anybody from the public that wishes to weigh in on this?
No, sir.
Okay. Any questions or comments further from the commission before we make a move to look for action? Okay. I'll look for board action.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to adopt and authorize chairman to execute a resolution creating the Seminole County 2020 Census Response Team effective August 1st, 2020 through the U.S. Census Bureau's current adjusted deadline for responding to the 2020 census of October 31st, 2020, pursuant to the findings and conditions for creation of the response team listed in sections A and B. And I think it's a great recommendation for Mr. Matthews to continue to be the leader of this group.
Second. Motion by Carrie, second by Delary. Any further conversation before we call the vote?
Just
Seeing
thank you
none?
to the entire team.
Right.
Thank you to all the volunteers. That
Amen.
was a huge, huge lift.
Amen. Amen. Okay, Commissioner Delary,
Aye.
Lockhart,
Aye.
Carrie,
Aye.
Constantine,
Yes.
Zimbauer, yes. Thank you all very much, Mr. Capro. Mr. Matthews, as usual, your unselfish servant to public service is just fantastic. We appreciate all your efforts and time. Thank you.
Chairman, if I could add to that, as the board knows, but for the benefit of the public that might be listening, Tony was a long-serving member of our planning team here at the county, has come back as a volunteer. We had a very small stipend to help manage this effort. Tony's efforts have far exceeded that. He's working strictly on a volunteer basis, and the community will be better because of his efforts and the efforts of the entire committee. But I mean, Tony is the coach, as Phil indicated. And I think he's just a great representative of a public servant, and this community. We're proud to have him on the team, and the community is very lucky to have him, and his willingness to continue to contribute to the betterment of Seminole County. So I just wanted to throw my thanks in there and make sure everybody understands that this is a labor of love for him. And he's here every day because he wants to be, and doesn't have to be. So thank you, Tony, very much. Everybody I know on the second floor is happy to have you back, hanging out with them again. So many thanks.
Thank you all very much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you,
Chairman.
Mr. Delary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would echo those same comments, not just on the volunteers, Phil Capro, but Tony as well. I think at the very least, we should be sending each one of them a letter from the chairman's signature of appreciation. We've done that in the past, and I just want to make sure that maybe we should have all the 5 county commissioners sign it. I think it'd be appropriate for all their hard work. But I also want to give a special thanks to Tony for helping us and to continue to help us. Your leadership and your willing to serve is quite extraordinary. So thank you.
Great.
Thank you very much. And I'll let you know, I do have a draft of those letters already to go out next month. So
Okay.
Thank you. Great idea.
Never a doubt in my mind about
Great
that. Thank you, Mr. Matthews.
You're
Thank you,
welcome.
Phil.
You're welcome.
Take care. Be well.
Thank you, commissioners.
All right, great. Next item, number 67, we put on Pat Hughes, project manager, will be presenting item number 67. The applicant is Stephen Kaiser. May be on the line if we can get those queued up, Clint. This is number 67, Code Enforcement Special Magistrate Lane.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners. For the record, Pat Hughes, Planning and Development. Item 67 is a request from Stephen Kaiser for a further waiver or reduction under the lien amnesty program of a code enforcement special magistrate lien on a property located at 4208 Lake Harney Circle, Geneva. The lien totals $41,500. In response to a complaint on February 16, 2011, the inspector observed the following violation located at 4208 Lake Harney Circle, Geneva. Construction without the required permit in violation of Seminole County Code, Chapter 40, Appendix A, Section 105.1. On October 12, 2012, the special magistrate issued an order giving the respondent a compliance date of January 9, 2013. Following that, a number of extensions were granted to the respondents with the final compliance date of July 10, 2014. On November 13, 2014, the special magistrate issued an order finding non-compliance, imposing a fine lien, with the fine continuing to accrue until compliance was obtained. An affidavit of compliance was filed by the inspector after a permit was issued on December 24, 2014. The respondents meet the requirements for the lien amnesty program, and due to the proven financial hardship, staff recommends the Board of County Commissioners reduce the code enforcement special magistrate lien totaling $41,500 for case 1237 CESM on the property located at 4208 Lake Harney Circle, Geneva, owned by Stephen W. Kaiser and Ernest E. Kaiser, joint tenants with rights of survivorship. Stephen W. Kaiser was the applicant, to the administrative costs under the lien amnesty program of $250, and require this reduced amount to be paid within 30 days, or the lien will revert to the original amount of $41,500, and authorize the chairman to execute the release of lien upon payment in full. That concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Hughes. And Commission, we do have the applicant on the line that we can inquire here in a moment with, but are any questions specifically for staff at this point? For Ms. Hughes? Okay, Ms. Hughes, if you could just stay there with us real quickly until we get to Mr. Kaiser. Mr. Kaiser, are you on the phone? Mr. Kaiser? Clint, can you verify that we have the applicant on the phone?
Sir, I'm not sure if it's the applicant. They raised their hand when we got to the item number. I don't have anybody named.
Okay, I have a phone number that ends in 344 on the queue right now. Caller, are you on the line?
Yes, I am, sir. This is Nancy Acevedo, but I want to make a comment on the past item agenda, so I think I'm out of place at this point.
Yes, Ms. Acevedo, I'm sorry. Clint, if you would take Ms. Acevedo back into the queue. And so, Clint, do we have Mr. Kaiser here on the line today?
No, sir, I don't see him.
Okay.
Chairman, my understanding was Mr. Kaiser would not be able to call in.
Oh, okay. Well, I have, okay. I'm not sure why staff says that he would be on the line today, but can you give me a little background about that? From Ms. Hughes, from your perspective, are you unaware or?
I was not aware that he was supposed to be calling. When I spoke with him to remind him of the hearing today, he advised me that he would not be calling in.
So are you clear that he's clear what this means under the amnesty program?
Correct. I've discussed the staff recommendation with him, and he's fine with that.
You're convinced of that?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll go to our commissioners and let them weigh in. Commissioner Carey?
Yes. So I know when we talked about the amnesty program before, one of the things that has to be done before we'll consider any kind of reduction or change is that the property is now in compliance. So is the property now in compliance?
The property is in compliance. When I receive an application for the amnesty program, I send an email to the code enforcement officers and they go out and they check the property for any kind of violation. So in this case, it was a construction without the required permits, but if there's overgrown grass or vegetation or anything, that becomes a violation, which therefore they wouldn't qualify for the amnesty program.
Right, but has he gotten the permits that he needed?
Yes, they were issued on December 24th of 2014.
Okay.
And this might be a question I have for Ms. Guillet, just to jog my memory. Didn't we just approve a cost for our special magistrate the last meeting or a couple meetings ago? Wasn't there a cost increase?
I believe we did a contract increase.
Right.
This is prior though. This was an ongoing case. Yes.
Yeah, I understand that. What I'm trying to figure out is the $250 cost of staff costs. I think and I'm not going to go into that again because I think I've made myself well clear that I believe that we're not calculating staff time accurately nor appropriately. This has gone on for how many years now? 19 years. So anyway, I just want to make a point. Hopefully, I know the board's discussion work sessions. I know we've looked at some staff costs. I want to make sure we're continue to follow that dog's tail on where those costs really are coming from and what they should be.
I do think this is probably a conservative estimate on staff costs. I will tell you that the applicant had applied for a complete waiver and had requested even that the administrative fees be waived. But we felt, because it is taxpayer money, that it was appropriate to at least recoup some of that.
Sure. No, understood. Okay. All right. Any further inquiry, Commissioner Carey?
Well, and I agree with you, Mr. Chairman. You know, we've talked about this a number of times. Every time we see the administrative costs, it seems so low. I mean, there's 12 different events dated here, either where an officer was at there or there was a special magistrate. And now that we have the increased price for the special magistrates, I think it just be really important while we have the amnesty program going on, particularly that we make sure we are getting reimbursed for the time and cost that our people have. And I've spoken to Ms. Guillet about, I know that the amnesty date is stayed because of the emergency orders, but I think you got a lot of people that are out of work now too and may not be able to do it. And I've asked her to formally bring that back to actually extend that for a period of time, because I think it's more challenging while people are home. They may not have the money to spend on whatever it is that they need to do to fix something. So,
Chairman, if I could clarify something, that the admin fees under the amnesty program, that was set under that program at $250. It's just a flat administrative fee. So it's not like some of the other lien reductions where we try to go back and really capture it. It was just a flat dollar amount that was established so that if anybody going through the amnesty program would pay a minimum percentage up to $1,000 plus that $250 admin fee. It's just a set fee. So I don't know in this case that there was even any attempt to quantify what the actual admin costs were, because it was under that program. And I will also add that under Commissioner Carey and I have talked many times about extending the amnesty program. We do intend to bring something back to the board with respect to that. Right now, it has been extended the full 132 days that we're into this, as the chairman noted earlier. We'd like to see how long the emergency order lasts so we can determine an appropriate amount of time to bring back an extension of that amnesty program. But I just want to assure Commissioner Carey and the rest of the board that we still have that on the list of things once the emergency order ends, and that tolling period, which includes the amnesty program, we'll have a better fix on what an appropriate time period would be in addition to that tolling period, if that's where the board wants to go. But right now there is already an additional 132 days on that program.
So do they pay the $250 at the time they make the application for the amnesty program?
No, they pay a $100 application fee.
Right.
Pay $100 application fee and then they pay $250 after we take action?
The $100 application fee would be subtracted from the 250.
Okay, so they'll pay the $150 after. So, okay, is there some reason why you don't just have them pay the $250 at the beginning?
Well,
That's
if they,
the way we set it up. That's the way we set up the amnesty program, I believe.
and there is a reason. The $100 is intended to capture the administrative cost of reviewing the request for the amnesty program. If they don't meet the criteria for the amnesty program, they apply, but we recommend that they don't get a lien reduction through amnesty because they're not in compliance or some other reason. The admin cost would just get rolled into the lien that stands and isn't reduced.
Okay.
Commissioner Lockhart?
I just want to make sure I understand. So we're talking about, staff is saying that they want to wait to decide how long to extend the amnesty program until the emergency order because of COVID is in place. We're linking the extension of the amnesty program with the extension of the emergency order of COVID. Is that what I'm hearing?
That's all been told.
That is what you're hearing. We, as part of the executive order, we told a number of things: expiration dates on permits, code enforcement lien accruals. We told, well, all of that has been told for the duration of the declared emergency. The amnesty program was to have ended at the beginning of July. We've told that expiration of the program in addition to the other things. So it's tied to the duration of, everything is tied to the duration of the executive order. So permits are extended 132 days. Lien accruals are extended 132 days. When we first started talking about extending the amnesty program, we didn't realize how long we were going to be under a declaration. And there was some discussion, you may recall, that the tolling time period the board might not feel that's a long enough extension of the amnesty program.
Right.
So we just wanted, we could go on another 30 days, 60 days. I hope not, under the emergency order.
Real quick, let me propose this, Ms. Gay and Commissioner Lockhart. Let's deal with the item here, and then let's finish that up, and then I'm happy. Let's discuss exactly what we're discussing now before we move to the department manager's reports. I don't want to commingle and mix the two up.
Mm-hmm.
If that's okay
fine
with everyone. So I'll look for board action on item 67.
Move approval, Mr. Chairman.
Second, Delari.
Mr. Carey, Delari, second. Any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, Commissioner Delari, I'll call.
Aye.
Lockhart?
Aye.
Carey?
Aye.
Constantine?
Yes.
Zembauer, yes. Okay, before we move on, getting back to the conversation, County Attorney, Ms. Guillet, there should be no reason, if this board wants to take action today on the continuing or prolonging the amnesty of this, there is no reason why we could not do that. Is that correct?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I think really this is something that should be noticed on the agenda. So change in policy.
So if it's a change in policy, I understand, but if we're just changing the date, if we're not changing the program, and this board decides as the governing board of this county that they want to extend it or not extend it further, I'm not so sure this board doesn't have the power and ability to do that.
Well,
and I just want to make sure.
Well, I mean, as a board, the argument is you have the power to do it. The question is whether or not, for a lot of reasons, whether or not the action would be challenged down the road for some reason.
Understood.
Well, if I could just go back to the reason why I asked the
Go ahead,
clarifying
Mr.
question, because
Lockhart.
I had a reason why I asked it. I'd like, if possible, to, rather than ask the county manager to wait for whenever the emergency order may extend, I'd like to give her direction if we can to come up with a point in time that we will make a decision that it will be X number of days and bring something back to us that's concrete. And then if it needs to be extended again, it can be. But I'm just concerned that, I mean, no one has a crystal ball that can know how to anticipate when this executive order could possibly expire, right? It keeps getting extended. So we don't know. And so if that's what they're waiting on to bring something back to us, we could be waiting, I mean, for forever. And I think people, even when the executive order, emergency order is rescinded, people are still going to be hurting and they're still going to need some time to get back on their feet. So I was just going to ask if we could direct the county manager to look at how she could come up with something more concrete to bring back to us as an agenda item.
Sure. Commissioner Carey?
Well, and I'd like to see it come back too, but I'd like to see it come back with some information about how effective has it been. So since we instituted it, how many people have taken advantage of the amnesty program and cleared their, I mean, if every one of them has to come to the county commission, then we haven't seen a lot of them. So I think that our policy allows them to just process them, and if that's the case, maybe we've had a lot of them clear up. If we haven't had a lot of people take the opportunity to clear these liens from their property, then I think that we haven't done a very good job of notifying them that this opportunity exists out there, which was part of our issue when we first did this. We said we want to make sure, how are we going to notify these people that this is out, that this program is out there? And I don't see any reason why it can't come back to say 6 months from the time or a year from the time that the emergency order is rescinded. That's how long this is going to be in place, and then you see how long that is.
Sure.
We put it in place for a year. The year is gone, and I'd like to know how, like I said, how many took advantage of the situation, and because we haven't seen many on the agenda.
Sure. Mr. Applegate?
Well, I see Rebecca just got on and she can correct me, but I looked at this the other day. I was kind of surprised. I think there were 40 or 50 so far that have taken advantage of the program. And getting back to the other question, I just, again, I think because we're talking about orders that have been issued in the past, I think we need to come back at a regular meeting with an order deciding what you all want to do.
Okay.
Chairman, if I could just clarify a couple of things. We
Sure.
can certainly come back and set a date certain. We did, to answer, I'll go back and answer a question that Commissioner Carey asked about how we notified folks. Anybody who had an outstanding lien was notified directly about the program. And when we decided to extend the date, we re-notified anybody who wasn't part of the program that we were extending the date for whatever the duration of the emergency order was. Right now, it's been extended 130.
Ms. Gay, you're dropped out.
You hear me?
There you go.
Okay. If the board wants to set a specific date for this particular issue, absolutely we can. And happy to bring back information. I think the county attorney's estimate is probably right. I sign off on those releases, and it's probably been about 40 or 50 that I've signed off on. We're happy to bring something back. Is there some sort of sense as to what the board might want to see as an extension, or is it just something you want us to suggest to you? Or do you want us to just sort of socialize that before we bring it back?
I think that the people that got noticed, I mean, so the program expired at the beginning of July. If they got a notice about the emergency order, not everybody is keeping up with the emergency order, how many days that's in place, and what does that mean to them as far as an extension. And as I said, I mean, I think that you could bring back something that says, 6 months or a year or whatever the case may be from the date that expires. And it doesn't have to be date specific. It could just be from the time it expires, it'd be extended for, a year or whatever the majority of the board want to do. But I think the unknown for certain people that are in, really some of them in dire situations is creating a lot of stress. And that's why I've been talking to you about it for a couple of months.
Yes. And so what we told the applicants, just so you know, what we told, not the applicants, but the folks who still had liens is the amnesty program was still open indefinitely. You can continue to apply, although you only had until July to apply. Now you have the ability to continue to apply until further notice. So folks know it's open, but if you want to set a deadline, I'm not sure if I understand what you just said, Commissioner Carey, about not having a specific date, but saying.
I'm saying that you could write an extension to that order that says the order is going to be extended for 1 year from the date that the emergency order for COVID-19 expires.
Okay. So that's, I mean, you still have the issue about people not knowing when that happens, but we can do that.
You would notify them. If you notify them that they've got time because of the COVID-19 emergency order, I'm guessing that you can notify them again that it's been extended for, for at least a year from the time that this ends.
Well, maybe it makes sense. Maybe, what do y'all think about this? If that's what we're trying to do, maybe it makes sense that once the emergency order expires or no longer exists, we then notify the property owners. They have that amount of time, whether it's been the entire time the emergency order has existed or some other time that this board decides, that from that point forward is basically their deadline. Because if not, we're going to keep chasing. We don't know when the order is going to expire. We're going to keep chasing the dates further and further and further.
You could just extend it for a year from the date that it expired, and at least they have a date certain that they know. And who cares about the 132 days or 135 days or 200 days? They would know that they have X amount of time that it's been extended.
But Commissioner Carey, and I understand, but the problem is, I don't think everybody understands in the public when an emergency order expires. So then we have to notify them again that, oh, by the way, it expired, even though we told you have a year additional.
But Mr. Chairman, so let's put the emergency order aside and just say we are extending the program from July 1st, if it expired June 30th or whatever date it expired, that we're extending it until June 30th of 2021.
Sure, no, I understand that, but if the emergency order goes to June of 2021, then what do you want to do?
We're in trouble.
Well, I think we may very well be.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Constantine,
I make a motion that we send it back to the staff to bring back a recommendation for the agenda.
Second.
We have motion and second. The staff will research and bring it back to the board for the agenda. All right, let's call the roll on that one.
Mr. Chairman, I ask for a friendly amendment that we have an update along with that.
Of course. Of course. I thought that, of course.
Good. Okay. Delary?
Aye.
Lockhart?
Aye.
Carey?
Aye.
Constantine?
Yes.
Zembauer, yes. Okay, thank you all very much for that, and thank you, Commissioner Lockhart, for bringing that up. I think that was an important thing that needed to be covered for so many reasons. Okay, next we're going to move to our investment report from Mr. McIntyre. Clint, can you bring Mr. McIntyre in? It looks like we've got him queued up. Mr. McIntyre, welcome.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
We can.
Okay, very good. Well, I hope everybody's well. I'm sure they are. It sounds like everybody's well here. Starting with page 1, the events driving the market. You guys are well aware of what's going on right now, because in Texas and in Florida, we're dealing with the same thing. We've sort of got a resurgence here, and you know, we're at a turning point, I guess, is the best way to put it in terms of the market. I mean, things could kind of go either way here. So there are some vaccine hopes. The other day I had read where there are 400 potential vaccines and treatments that are currently being studied. You know, Moderna actually went to phase 3 testing yesterday. University of Oxford is, from what I understand, they've got 30,000 people that are being tested right now on 3 different continents. And the list goes on and on of hopeful vaccine candidates. And, in terms of timing on that, it certainly will most likely will wind up being much, much quicker than we've experienced in the past. But again, I think it's going to be a while before all of us have the opportunity to get the vaccine. So taking everything with a grain of salt, the stock market, as you guys know, granted the last couple of days have been not so great, but the NASDAQ last week hit a new record high. I will say on that, though, that about 10% of the stocks in the S&P and probably more so in the NASDAQ, it's focused on a number of large stocks. The majority of stocks within the indexes are actually negative for the year. So it's distorted, kind of like everything else. It's really hard to get a true picture of things right now. Economic data, one of the things that we've noticed is that the data is consistently behind. So, when the broad economies had shut down, we were getting data from a month or 6 weeks ago that reflected a strong economy. When the economy reopened, we were seeing data that reflected the shutdown. And then now that things are starting to shut down or be more conservative in a number of different major spots throughout the nation, we're starting to get the strong data, which isn't reflecting what's actually happening again. It's very hard to get a handle on that. But we are focusing on jobs, and so the initial unemployment claims is the second major slide I want to talk about. And here, couple things. Unemployment claims, weekly filings for first-time unemployment benefits are declining. But as of last week, we are still at 1.4 million people who filed for first-time unemployment benefits. So we're a long way from being out of the woods. And you look at this graph and, you can see whatever you want to see from it. But the thing that I want to mention is that during any normal period when the economy is doing well, there might be 200 to 250,000 people nationwide filing for benefits. And like I said, here we are well into this recovery or bounce or whatever you want to call it, and there's still 1.4 million people filing for benefits. So the next slide is unemployment benefits claims. These are overall claims. The blue line is continuing claims or ongoing people who are receiving state benefits. The red line includes federal benefits. So according to the Department of Labor, there were 32 million people that were receiving either state or federal benefits. So, and the federal benefit, of course, you guys know, is set to expire on the 31st of July. So a lot of the bounce that we've had in the economic data up to this point is because people are, especially folks who are making minimum wage, had been receiving through the federal government and state government quite a bit more money than they were used to when they were working. And some of the discussions that I don't think they've come to fruition yet include the idea that that federal benefit, which had been $600 additional per week, will be cut to $200 additional per week. And that certainly will have an effect on economic growth going forward. The next slide is consumer spending. I just want to mention this because it's so apparent. You had 2 months worth of effective shutdown where people couldn't spend, and that's the blue line where you see, big drops in retail sales. And then you had, 2 significant increases in subsequent months. But the first month, May, that bounce was much more significant. We're feeling like as we go forward into July, especially with people being insecure about whether or not they're going to have those additional dollars in their pocket, that spending is likely to slow. I will also mention that spending is very, very, not sure what the word is, but people are spending a lot of money on some things and very little money on other things. We were looking for a kid's bike the other day, and there were none at Academy and none at Walmart, and basically no affordable bikes at the bike shop. They were all cleared out. Same with exercise equipment at Academy. It's just completely barren. So those are things that people feel like they need right now, but overall consumer spending is likely to fall. And of course, the reason we look at retail sales and consumer spending is because that drives the economy. The next slide is housing. Housing is another really weird deal right here. And I'm not showing you home sales because I think it's a little disingenuous, because new home sales has actually had an extraordinarily good month last month. and existing home sales have rebounded. So, but what's happening is first-time home buyers are not in the market right now because they're either unemployed or they feel job insecure. What's happening is that people are fleeing the big cities for the suburbs, and people are buying second homes. There's some investment going on, but it's not the typical base that drives housing in most parts of the nation. So, I think that there's sort of a false reading in a lot of economic data, and certainly housing is one of those false readings. This particular graph, though, that I wanted to show shows you that the 30-year fixed mortgage rate actually went below 3% for the first time in history. So Freddie Mac, about 10 days ago, reported that the 30-year fixed mortgage rate had fallen to 2.98. Right now, as of this very moment, 2-year, 3-year, 5-year, 7-year Treasury yields are at all-time lows. I would expect that mortgage rates are going to continue to decline, and that certainly will give people the opportunity. It makes housing more affordable. But again, those first-time home buyers are very, very important, and they're really not there right now. The next slide is Bloomberg yield forecast. The only thing I really want to point out here is similar to what I've pointed out in months gone by, and that's that if you look at the top line, economists don't believe the Fed is going to raise rates now until it actually goes beyond this chart, but they don't expect, these 72 economists on whole, don't expect the Fed is going to raise rates until at the very earliest the end of 2022. Trying to think, a federal office, one of the federal offices, forgive me, Office of Budget Management maybe, had expected that the Fed wasn't going to raise rates until 2025. I saw Goldman the other day expecting it wouldn't be until 2026. Obviously a lot of that's going to depend on how the economy is able to rebound, to the extent that things are slow and we have fits and starts and, anemic growth and no inflation, the Fed will be able to keep rates low. And because they've added $3 trillion to the national debt over the course of the last 3 months, they're going to have incentive to keep debt service costs low, which is a whole nother story. But bottom line is that at this point in time, and it could certainly change, the expectation is that the Fed isn't going to be doing anything for a while. There's a Fed meeting today and tomorrow. There's a press conference tomorrow afternoon that we're going to listen to see what Jay Powell is telling, to see if there's any other nugget of information in there that we can glean. The next slide, getting to a little bit more important things here, and of course this is changing all the time, but the June portfolio yield was calculated at 104. That's a little bit higher than I had expected it would be. As much as anything else, I think that's the pool rates didn't fall as quickly as I thought that they would. You also had some maturities that were at pretty low yields this time, so that didn't really affect the portfolio quite as much. Looking at your investment options, and these are a little bit lower even today, but things to highlight are that you can't really go out on the curve and pick up additional yield. So the Treasury 3-year was at 16 basis points. Agencies don't give you a whole lot more, but if you did want to go out, in some cases, a 3-year agency will give you, considerably more than you could get in the Treasury. And that's kind of hit and miss on those. But, going out 3 years and picking up a 29 to me is not terribly palatable, especially when your portfolio yield right now is at, 104 at the end of June. You can pick up some uncallables, and I just we discussed this in the call the other day, but really the only way today that you can pick up additional yield is not only by going out longer and subjecting yourself to market risk, but also by subjecting yourself to some call risk. So like a 5-year, 2-year picks up to 58 yield. Now that's not a terrible yield compared to some of the other things, but you're going out as far as 5 years right now. And if you chose to do this, you would be choosing to extend the portfolio on the day or at the period where interest rates were at their lowest point in history. So these are some of the things we're trying to weigh. Florida Class and Florida Prime, the two main pools in the state, are yielding right around 40, and they have legacy assets on, which means they're probably going to be able to keep that yield up for at least a little while. And, in my mind, rather than jumping into a Treasury that yields 16 or an agency that yields 28 or 29, you can ride the pools a little bit. And we're at a pretty low point, everything from the economic outlook to where interest rates are right now. So, you know, again, the choices aren't so good. Your banks are paying anywhere from 25 basis points to 50 basis points. You know, not terrible, not as good as it used to be, obviously. The next slide is recommendations. In July, and this has already happened, you had one $15 million maturity. It was yielding 188. There are two maturities totaling $15 million in August, coming off at a 181. The important thing is that there's no additional maturities until November 30th of 2020. So, you know, that's a nice thing. So the higher yields that you have are going to stick around for a while and bolster the portfolio yield from now until then. That gives us the opportunity to look for, you know, yields for good news to happen, potentially some good news on the virus front. Certainly good news would be that the infection rate is slowing instead of increasing. Right now we're at a pretty bad point, but because of the way the maturities are scheduled in your portfolio, we kind of get some breathing room for a while. So the recommended purchases, you also have expenses that you're going to be paying. You know, you've got the maturities in July and you've got the maturities in August. They'll fund your expenses. Additional expenses will be drained from your banks and your pools. We suggest that between when your maturities happen and when they're spent, those maturing proceeds get moved into Florida Prime. There is a lot of money in Florida Prime right now. Again, the yield on that is above 40 basis points. They are managed by Federated. They are AAAM rated, and we feel really secure about them basically because the enormous management company behind them, and they typically have been prudent in how they manage. It's not my preference to have large balances in pools. I'd rather be better diversified than we are, but I don't want to give up by jumping out of a pool and jumping into something that's yielding significantly less. And then, you know, if there are government securities that can be purchased on a case-by-case basis, we'll bring them to your attention. You know, they do come and go. Don't see anything today, haven't in a couple of weeks, but again, we're sort of in a transitionary period in the market right now, so not too many opportunities are presenting themselves. I'm also suggesting we retain a minimal balance in the Palm portfolio, so that July maturity and the 2 August portfolio maturities are from Florida Palm, and those were term investments with a pool that are expiring. The rates that they're offering right now are just terrible, but what we can do is put money into their day-to-day fund. And I talked to the clerk's office, and with these maturities in Florida Palm, we don't want the accounts to close. We want to keep a minimum balance in their day-to-day fund so the accounts can stay open so you don't have to do the paperwork again when the opportunity represents itself. So the second recommendation is to maintain a minimum balance. Clerk's office believes $20,000 is an appropriate minimum balance. I agree with that. It's not a whole lot. That basically is to keep our thumb on things so we don't have to reopen the accounts later. And I want to remind you that the overall objective right now is safety, and that means we're not going to be chasing yield. That means the idea of going after a 5-year security with a 6-month call, even though the yield is over and above, really the risk-reward trade-off right now isn't advantageous. So, you know, I wish we had better options, but we don't right now, and we want to make sure that the principle is intact. Looking at the portfolio snapshot, and you guys can see this a little bit better on your screens, hopefully, but this is where we sort of do a executive summary of the calculations. This is where the 104 comes from at the bottom there, the little box at the bottom on the left-hand side. And one thing that you can see is that, you know, the 25% that goes out beyond 12 months yields a 147, and that's obviously going to stick around for a while. The beyond 3 to 12 months, and most of that's concentrated, you know, in the early part of 2021 and the late part of 2020, but the yield there is a 190. Again, that sticks around for a while. I moved forward into July. I plugged in lower pool yields, plugged everything through, looked at the maturities, and that brought the yield down to a 96. My expectation is that 90 to 96 will probably hold till we get to the beginning of December. And again, at that point, it'll gradually start to drop. If we go to the benchmark portfolio, or the benchmark comparison on the next page, as I mentioned before, as we roll forward, the county is the red line. The blue line is the one that we're not beating at this point in time. That's the 1-year constant maturity treasury. And of course, that's a rolling average. So the tail end of that is still earning a 150 or 160. As we roll forward, you lose one of the 150 months, and on the top, you tack on a 12 or whatever it happens to be. So we expect that blue line is continue to fall. The red line is going to stay stable, and you should be beating all your benchmarks, if not by the end of July or the end of this month, certainly by the end of August. And you should pull away as we roll forward toward December. Again, I wish that there were more securities. I wish we had pushed the portfolio out further at the beginning of the year. But again, I think liquidity was important. The market wasn't suggesting we necessarily do that. And, obviously I think that, things are in pretty decent shape. So I think what I need you guys to do, if we go back to the recommendations and revisit those again on page 8, the recommendation is that any maturing proceeds that aren't needed to pay your monthly expenses get moved temporarily into Florida Prime, which is the federated managed enormous pool that we have confidence in. And then also to maintain a minimum balance in the Palm portfolio, cash portfolio, so that we don't need to reopen that. And before you give your vote on that, I also want to mention that we don't have the second quarter numbers yet for the banks, but we intend to go through those financials in detail. They have 30 days to be able to produce those. We expect we're going to see these at the beginning of August. As soon as we see those, I'll crank through the numbers and I can share those the next time. The banks that you do have deposits with at this point in time through the last quarter, we're in very good shape financially. And I'll remind you that these are all qualified public depository program participants, which means that they are able to be secured. The investments are secured through the state collateralization program. So, again, safety is first, and I do feel good about the safety aspect of the portfolio. So does anybody have any questions or?
Any questions for Mr. McIntyre? If you, staff, could drop the screen for me, please. Thank you. Commissioner Constantine?
No, just a complete report, and I'll move the recommendation, to adopt the recommendations of our financial advisor based on the report submitted today and the direct clerk to implement the board's adopted recommendations.
Second, Delari.
Second by Delari. Motion Constantine. Further discussion? Seeing none, we'll call the vote. Commissioner Delari?
Aye.
Lockhart?
Aye.
Carey?
Aye.
Constantine?
Yes.
Zembauer, yes. Okay, we will move on now to the county attorney's briefing. Mr. Applegate? Oh, you're muted, Mr. Applegate.
Sorry about that.
There we go.
Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, sometime over the next 24 hours, I will be giving each of you a briefing on several litigation matters. I do not want to talk about them right now. And that includes the collage matter as well. And I will call you after this board meeting individually on an update.
Okay. Anything else, Mr. Applegate?
Not right now.
Any inquiries to the county attorney? Okay, seeing none, I think that concludes our morning's business. We will adjourn until 1:30 this afternoon. Everybody be safe, be well. We'll see you then.